Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast, episode 453. This is your guide to the geek side, and I am one of your hosts, Todd Oxtra, survivor of Michigan trip. Yes, and I am back and still need to put up some Christmas decorations.
You know, some of us live in Michigan all the time, and we don't say I'm a survivor of living in Michigan. However, I am a survivor. Charlie Carden here, by the way. I am a survivor of the COVID. I went 3 years without getting COVID. Not 100% sure how I got it. Chances, April was a carrier. She brought it back from Chicago because she had another manager meeting there with her company. I turned around and gave it to her regardless. So now we're both over it. But yeah, COVID. But you know what? Super mild, to be perfectly honest with you. So I haven't lost any sense of anything. I can still smell stuff. Sometimes I wish I couldn't. Like that toy show I told you I was at yesterday with the room full of BO. I would love to have lost have been like Dewey Cox and lost my sense of smell.
Yeah, we're in a good spot because now COVID with all the vaccines and everything, we're in a much better spot to manage it versus those folks who got it like the first round that I heard horrible things.
I mean,
COVID, hospitalizations.
I had
stuff.
4 elderly members of my family, my dad's first cousin who passed away, but people who are already in bad health, but still, yeah, it's a tragedy. But anyway.
It is.
But anyway, yes. Back at it.
Yes. So we are here to talk about stuff. We took a week off just because of vacations and all this fun stuff.
And I was dying.
So we are back, and hopefully, we may have one more break just because of complications with the holidays and everything, but we'll see how it goes.
Right.
Yes. So with that, we're going to get back into the groove. And thank you for everyone who listened to me last week or the last episode, because I did a solo episode. It's a little bit different, obviously, because you got one person riffing and trying to make things interesting. So
just couldn't even bring myself to listen to it, Todd. It was too sad. Too sad for me personally. Not that I'm sure that it wasn't good.
That's really great compliment, Charlie. It was just too sad to listen to.
It was too sad for me. Doesn't mean it was too sad for everyone else. For everyone else, I'm sure they loved it. But no, I'm glad to be back too. I wanted to highlight, I did on one of our Patreon segments, but finally finished off the basement almost because I don't have a door yet, but brought my jacket collection down here. I was wearing a jacket when we started, but it was much like one of my Star Trek jackets. It's like made out of pleather, which amps up your body temperature by like 50%. So it didn't last. But moved my my Sky Striker up there, and then yes, I added some. Look, Todd, Shizor. I'm trying to point. I saved my card for Shizor, and some of the G.I. Joe cards. So anyway, wanted to show that off, but excited to be back and excited to, as always, pay homage to the wonderful folks in our Patreon over at patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. We've got a squad of great folks that support us, give us the opportunity to make additional content, and just say, hey, howdy, we love your stuff. On our Friends with Benefits level, that would be Corey and HG, John Sedorf, the awesome Phoenix Sisters cosplay, Brendan Myers, and we have our first new person in a while. This would be a guest of Mark's over on Holocron Chronicles during one of the weeks when I couldn't be there. That would be the Asian Sith Mistress, who is over on Instagram, is a brand new follower of our show. We're going to circle back to that one in a second. But on our BFF levels, we have the awesome Nias family, Sean, Stella and Henry, and my dear friend, Missy Merchant. So yeah, Asian Sith Mistress. So Todd, what do we do when somebody's new on our program?
Oh, they get the pleasure of getting bestowed upon them a superpower. Now, this works where it could be a good thing that's useful in real life, or it could just be fun and goofy, because, that's the way it works. The mutants, when they're born, don't get to choose their powers.
Right.
You get some that are goofy and silly, like Douglock, who basically just gets to speak in languages, which is useful in the corporate world, not so useful when you're fighting Blob and Toad of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. So with that, so I will start, and I will say that Asian Sith Mistress, I'm just going to base this, I don't know much about the person, but based on it's Star Wars related, I will give them the superpower of being able to ignore all of the ridiculous fans in the world of fandom. So it's like she has
Wow.
the
That's
ability
quite a
to
skill.
just, basically tone it out. It's almost like an auto mute of anything that is negative, horrible. She just gets to get rid of it. Get rid of fanboys, get rid of people commenting. It's, proof of just basically gets rid of any of those negative things that make fandom horrible.
The blank space. I love it. Well, I would say, to complement that, spinning from that, still being in the Star Wars realm, somebody who's obviously a very professional cosplayer, knows their stuff, and knows how to function in that world and be successful. Here's somebody who can size up a great deal when it comes to a cosplay accessory. If that's a new pair of double-sided, red lightsaber blades, if that's a new cloak, if that's a new Star Wars belt, because all Star Wars outfits, if it's not a cloak, it's a cool jacket, and it's a big belt and a big pair of boots. So she has the ability to get the best deal without having to break a sweat. That's a great mutant power, being the negotiator, like General Grievous. Not bad. Not bad.
The power of slick deals.
The slick deals, which is that's also your power, Todd. You know that.
It is. I am the cheapinator.
The cheapinator. All right. Well, of course, to wrap this up succinctly, again, thank you to all these wonderful folks making it possible for us to make this great extra content. If you visit patreon.com/secretfriendsunite, you can try our service for 7 days for free. That's on us, or it's on them. And see if you like what we have to offer. We've got new stuff there all the time. Plus, you can visit our archive of all that kind of good stuff. So cool. Thank you, friends. And we will move along to back in the 1990s. Oh my goodness, this is from November of 1994. So my first year at Michigan State, my freshman semester. Oh, what a time. What a time. But this is Marvel Comics issue 53 of, I'm assuming, volume 1 of The New Warriors. This was your young and hip. It was your teenagers, kind of early something squad when they were getting rolling. And by the time we've hit issue 53, we've got just a lot of different stuff going on. So we've got a villain featured on this cover called, is it Cyanex?
Cyanex.
Well, isn't that a P?
Like Nasonex.
Yeah, Cyanex. Okay. Strikes again and again and again. And I'm seeing, I'm trying to, Speedball's still a character, but he let his hair go. I think Rage, who was, again, there was a lot of Avengers and New Warriors kind of crossover, because Justice and Firestar, who were both on the New Warriors, left to be on the Avengers. Rage came from the Avengers and was then on the New Warriors. But you had who was the black guy who was the skater guy.
Oh, he was a skater.
He had an action figure a couple years ago that came with the skateboard. But Nightwatch. Maybe the guy at the bottom of the screen.
Good question. Don't know.
And then, I don't know who the guy is with, the mask and the spikes on his wrist. I'm not sure who the black-haired woman is. I don't know who the nerd with the glasses is.
Okay. It's Night Thrasher.
Night Thrasher, thank you.
Yes. And
the guy with who's made out of crystals, is that Martin X from the old Guardians, maybe?
This is great. So there's a character named called the Mathmanic.
That must be the guy. That must be the guy in the back, right?
Well, I love this. Oh,
and
boy.
So Cyanex, like Nasonex, must be the dude. He's got a long black flowing ponytail. Is it all hair and then a mask? So he's got like one of those masks where he's like, "Hey, my head's exposed."
Yeah, Justice was still on the team.
Yeah.
Namorita.
That's Namorita.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, that's got to be Rage, the guy with with all the
Nova was on the team for a time.
Yeah. But so Nasonex there has the big black cloak, and then he's got some bling around his neck. I mean, he's got I don't know who the woman is, but they look pretty cozy. So this just said 90s to me all over the place. And who's the artist?
So extreme.
Is it Paul Ryan? Or it says the guy's signature is like Amulet P94. I can't quite tell.
That's who it is.
A P.
Richard Pace. Richard
Richard-
Pace was the
well,
artist. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good stuff. Good
New
stuff.
Warriors was kind of like the young team with Marvel because there was no Young Avengers. There really was no young superhero team with
Yeah.
Marvel forever. The X-Men had the New Mutants,
the New
but
Mutants,
that was about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
then they
I'm
all
not
grew
sure
up,
why
so
they
they
never
were
had a young team member of like sidekicks, because they
Yeah.
had plenty of sidekicks back in the day.
right. And comics are ostensibly for young people, ostensibly. But things obviously have come back. You know, it turns another generation. You've got young people. So, oh man. Well, speaking of people who are young, people who are not young, we were all young once. But you know who was never young once, at least in my esteem? It's probably our senior news correspondent, Madam Webb, at 123 years young. You know, her birthday is next month, 124, January the 1st. But anyway, she's down at the corner of Hollywood and Vine. She's long been missing us because she's not been able to give us those fat scoops because we can't expose her to COVID. She died in an instant. But let's go see what she's got going on with the news from Madam Webb. Let's party.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's rumors and news. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. Well, I'm glad to see you have been released from jail on a bond. You decided to take Black Friday in a different way and you became a porch pirate. So that didn't go so well, and all you got to go for it is a bidet.
Oh boy,
how much
who has
you
that
don't
get
need one.
shipped?
Yeah,
Oh, man.
for leaves.
Yes, does she live in the woods?
Leaf and newspaper. Yeah,
leaf and newspaper.
Well.
When you can find the newspaper. Oh my God! So Todd, as I was kind of riffing you the pre-roll, so here's a story about your favorite creative in the business. What's going on over here?
So Dave Filoni has been tapped to essentially become the chief creative officer at Lucasfilm.
Maybe.
So essentially, he will be now the head of Star Wars underneath Kathleen Kennedy. Previously, there was no point person for Star Wars. There was basically a story group.
Yeah,
and obviously Lucasfilm is more than just Star Wars. It's Indiana Jones. It's I guess Willow.
Indiana Jones. Do you mean? Oh,
Yeah.
by the way, I do have look over my shoulder. I do have the headpiece of the Staff of Ra. Picked this up from Target. Retail $50. Got it for $17. Thank you, Christmas.
It's a good sign of health of the franchise. But there's also ILM, who does all the special effects.
Right.
When people say, will Dave Filoni next be the head of Lucasfilm? And I would say no, because he doesn't know anything about the other parts of the business. So it will be a business leader in charge of that. But, it makes sense that there's one person in charge of Star Wars, just like there is at Marvel. It's not like Kevin Feige is going to go ahead and take over Disney because he's head of Marvel. It doesn't make any sense. But this is happening, and essentially, it's going to be interesting because we'll see how this goes and what it means, and will it mean that Dave Filoni will essentially get veto power of everything, or I think it still goes to Kathleen Kennedy, like what gets greenlit, what doesn't, but he presents all of the ideas going forward, and
so he's
pitching. I want to do this. Yeah,
I mean,
she would basically fund it and things like that out of the Lucasfilm budget.
The Lucas bucks. And it raises a different question. We know that Kathleen Kennedy is no spring chicken. When is she going to retire? And when she does retire, as and I think really accurately illustrated that he is not a executive level muckety muck business guy. Who is the heir apparent at Lucasfilm for her gig?
That's a good question because, as we know,
this is not
Bob
really
Disney,
another name. Yeah,
Bob Disney has 3 more years on his contract. He is trying to right the ship at Disney. They're in a world of hurt. They got to figure out what they're going to do with Disney, ESPN, ABC, all of these things. And she was born in 1953, so that puts her at 70 years old.
Yeah.
Family, things like that. She's married. She probably has some kids. I don't know if that's something you want to do for the rest of your life. I assume she will stay on, at least through Iger's tenure, and Iger will align with her for a successor as well.
Yeah.
He'll probably nominate someone, and then Bob Iger will say yes or no. So that's probably how it will go. And at that point, it probably makes the most sense because that would put her at like 73. She'll finally be able to get Social Security so she can afford her retirement.
Yeah, because I'm sure she's scraping by check to check.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Exactly.
a quote from Filoni. This is kind of like the stepdad to the new kid. Well, I'm not telling people what to do, but I feel I'm trying to help them tell the best story they want to tell. I need to be a help across the galaxy here, like I'm part of the Jedi Council almost. Yeah, okay, buddy. I don't know about that. I don't know. April and I were just talking this morning. We were trimming the Christmas tree, and I'm putting ornaments on there, and I have an ornament of Luke Skywalker from that season 2 finale of The Mandalorian. And I looked at it and I said, for me, that was the peak of Disney Star Wars, was that season finale of Mandalorian 2. And she looked at me and said, you were talking to some dude yesterday at the toy show where you said Andor was the best thing they ever did. And I'm like, okay, well, you know what? 50-50. It was 50%.
Something up in front of your face right now, Charlie. Is that the favorite you have?
I don't know. Show me the next thing Filoni's done. I'm sure it's the greatest thing of all time. And again, I'm talking out of two sides of my mouth because I do co-host our Star Wars show here on the network with our friend Mark, who is a rabid, loves everything that comes along kind of guy. Not that I say he doesn't have a critical eye, but he's got more of the bloodlust for the Star Wars stuff than I ever could. And you could probably say the same thing about me when it comes to Star Trek, though I feel like I can pick out when something is really bad, like the JJ movies, or when something's kind of lukewarm. But I'm more apt to be like, yes, give me more, give me more. You don't know. I love Rebels. I love Clone Wars. Those were his babies. Well, not Clone Wars so much. That was more of a George Lucas project back in the day. But Rebels was definitely his. And things that have spawned from that. Ahsoka was a little bit here, a little bit there. And Mandalorian was 50% his baby. That was him and Favreau, right? So, but again, Mando was 2 great seasons, and then it had a 3rd season. It's kind of like Highlander, right? There were 2 seasons of Mandalorian, and that's all that happened.
Yeah, it's interesting because it would have been interesting if they just renamed it the 3rd season, The Mandalorians.
Yeah,
because that truly became about all of them, and it was kind of not just one.
It's kind of a team sport thing happening. Yeah,
yeah, and I'll be curious to see what Filoni does. Is he going to be more like, is he going to be more like Feige, where he basically doesn't have his finger in everything from like the production to the story? He basically says, I have an idea where all these things are going. Like I'm not going to be,
like an editor in chief, like Jim Shooter.
Yeah.
Like Jim Shooter. Jim Shooter was the guy in Marvel Comics in the 80s. And while his biggest project, at least that I can think of, was the Secret Wars, Marvel Superhero Secret Wars, greatest miniseries of Marvel, certainly of that time, without a doubt, and really shaped what a miniseries became. But then as editor-in-chief, he just simply had an overall concept, like what's going on in the Captain America world, what's going on with the X-Men, what's going on with the, the New Mutants, or the this or the that. So somebody who keeps like really wonky stuff from going sideways, some kind of cohesiveness, somebody who is a guy. You don't want to say a figurehead, because a figurehead is not a great thing, but yeah, somebody like a Feige. It was funny, I watched in my COVID bed, I was rewatching a lot of the Disney Plus Marvel, and She-Hulk was one of the things I watched, and I absolutely just love that last episode where she literally breaks out of the Disney Plus app and then confronts Kevin, the AI that writes Marvel stuff. And I'm like, it's just, is that, so what is the acronym for Dave then? Give me a Star Wars Dave acronym. Todd, you're creative. Go for it.
Digital analyst, valuing,
Endor. There you go. So that is an eminent comeback of the Ewoks. Oh my God.
See, valuing Ewoks is even better.
Yeah.
But,
evaluating Ewoks. Yeah.
I just hope it becomes like Dave gets beyond himself and like his pretties, his lovelies, his darlings, and he says,
pretties. Right.
I want him to hopefully say, everything Star Wars isn't just things that I love about Star Wars. It isn't going to be just my creations. It's going to be, because I don't want to be like, oh, we're not going to get an Andor, or we're not going to get something that doesn't feel like it's connected to everything and everybody runs into each other. Different tones, different types of things. So if Filoni can kind of like say, I'm going to step away from being in control and having to create things, and he can still do his own projects if he really wants to,
but foster
if he's-
talent, what you're saying,
but if
different
he's too
ideas,
busy
people.
doing all that stuff, quite honestly, he won't have the time to do
Right.
a thing. It's like Jim Lee does it because he's in charge of DC. He maybe draws a cover, but he's not actually doing a monthly book because he doesn't have the time, because he has to keep everything going forward.
That's keeping all the plates spinning. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And
Valuing
we know
Ewoks.
Disney said they want more executives on all their projects.
Yeah, that's and trust me, I'm going to dig into that when we get into the
meddler.
Geek Easy. Yeah, exactly. The meddler. So anyway, just to cap this off, the Skeleton Crew is the next Star Wars project confirmed. The Alkalite, we're also going to obviously see that in 2024, so we've been said, and season 2 of Andor. And then there are a slate of wouldn't it be nice films that have dates in the next 3 to 17 years. So anyway, everything is pie in the sky with Star
There's no
Wars.
animated series like new ongoing animated series.
No,
right?
Probably shorts like the the Jedi Chronicles or the
Visions.
One. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So anyway, all right. Well, launching right along, and I watched this trailer right before we came down. I watched because we're talking about 4 different trailers this week, so this will be a little bit of boom, boom, boom. But the first one we have up is Furiosa, the prequel to Mad Max Fury Road, starring the woman that Todd and I would have a knife fight over, Anya Taylor-Joy. My God. And she's fantastic in everything she does. Very wonderful actor, very expressive, beautiful. And yeah, so this is, and the trailer was great because it really did paint a very firm picture where you didn't really know, like, oh God, is this a prequel? Why is this a different actress? Whatever. So they're dialing it back many years. It says 45 years after the fall of society. And again, I'm reminded of the Patton Oswalt bit where he said, well, the reviewer that we had in my small town radio said, there's this new movie at the multiplex, Mad Max. Everybody's out of gas, but all they're doing are driving around. I don't get it.
They turned urine into gasoline. It became their new power.
No,
yes.
I thought that was Waterworld. But anyway, this looks spectacular. And Chris Hemsworth is the co-star.
I love it.
Fully
He's got
embracing
a weird nose and a cape.
Fully embracing his Aussie-ness. It's great. He's speaking with a real Aussie accent. But yeah, big old beard.
Did Thor not have an Australian accent?
No, he had a British accent.
He's not speaking Norse.
It didn't sound. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't Australian. But yeah, no, this looks fantastic. And you see, I don't remember almost anything about the other film. Tom Hardy was the star. Charlize Theron was Furiosa in that film.
It was a chase movie.
Yeah, it was a chase movie. I don't remember what the deal is with the guy with the scary mouthpiece.
Or Martin Joe. Martin Joe is kind of like the big bad.
Okay, very good.
And we see him in flashbacks to this. I mean, we see where he's young and the harem of women and wife, and
This just, and it was like a 2-minute trailer, but this is just a smack 'em up, blow 'em up kind of deal, and we're getting this next summer. Did it say next summer?
It's in April 2024.
Oh, okay. One of the other ones. The last one we watched.
Oh no, May 24th, 2024.
So it is. It said next summer because of the ones that we watched. They're basically it's kind of a 6-month.
Not
window.
Officially summer, but summer box office.
Yeah, summer, kind of like the Planet of the Apes. So, and this is Warner Brothers, right? So this is their big tent pole to get things going. Isn't it Warner Brothers or is it Universal?
So.
Okay.
I believe so.
Gotcha. But yeah, I'm fired up. This looks like fun. Great trailer. They hit on all the notes of things that are meant to get people excited about seeing a film. So I think they pulled it off. So I'm down. This looks totally awesome.
Yeah, George Miller, he doesn't make many movies, but when he does, they are amazing. And it is typically very much a lot of practical effects.
Mm-hmm.
And then he does things with the saturation of color, so it looks very much really kind of overkill at times, which is great. And it's just, I guess they had Fury Road had a black and white edition, which I heard was awesome. So I'm excited for this film. I normally don't like prequels, but
I'm cold now, so I'm putting my jacket back on.
Okay, but old man. But George Miller wouldn't do a movie he wasn't interested in. He could have just done a sequel to Mad Max, but he felt like there was something there in bringing an actor like Anya Taylor-Joy, who's basically playing a young Charlize Theron. That's awesome. So I'm excited to see where this goes. It's going to be over the top, and love this. Cannot wait.
all over it. So moving along, something that we'll see a little quicker. We got a 1-2 punch about the Boys franchise. Now we wrapped up Gen V, and that was obviously with the intent of spinning into a second season because it was left on a cliffhanger. But the train is not stopping for things related to the Boys because we got a trailer for season 4. It is season 4, season 3, season 4?
Season 4.
Coming. Did we get a coming soon? Yeah, we got a coming soon out of this, which I was super
2024.
Yeah, yippee. Okay, good. That's soon enough. It's 12 months. But we're rolling into what we had in the previous season. Homelander is getting ever closer to just completely going off the rails. He's arm in arm with his son, who was raised by Billy Butcher's, late wife, and you can tell this kid, this kid was on his way to the dark side at the end of the last season. But we're getting a new character in the form of Negan himself. God, do I love that dude. But you see him sitting and chit-chatting with Billy Butcher at some point. I'm not 100% certain of his role in it. Do you know?
Good question. And the reason why he's involved is because he was Eric Kripke, who's the producer of the series. They worked on Supernatural for years.
There you go.
And so that's why he's brought him, which is great. I mean, that's why you saw Jensen Ackles, and maybe we'll get Jared Padalecki eventually.
Oh, a little reunion. That'd be fabulous. Yeah, because obviously Jeffrey Dean Morgan was the father of those two boys who were the crux of the series. You didn't see him very often in flashbacks, mostly because I think didn't he die in the first episode, or he was already dead in the first episode of that show, Supernatural. It was something like that. And then there was the spinoff, which was obviously a prequel. Which
the dad didn't die dad was on for multiple seasons.
Was he really?
The mother was dead. That was the person who's he died at the end of season 2, I believe.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. See, and I probably watched first couple seasons of that, but I didn't finish. I know April finally finished. She was a fan, and
I've never finished it, but I do watch an episode every once in a while just to keep watching it because I love it so much. So I'm like, I don't want it to end, but I will keep watching.
I hear you.
It's so great. Yeah.
But we're looking at, so this looks fantastic. 2024. Hopefully that means that's the first half of the year. It's coming from Amazon. I think they said, we were watching the trailers I'm thinking of something else. It was one of these we were watching said from the studio that brought you The Boys. I think it's one of the other trailers, and 2-day shipping. And April said, "What the hell is 2-day shipping? Is that a movie or something?" No, babe, it's Prime. It's that. That's very clever. Okay, no, it was from one of the other. It was one of the other trailers that we have to talk about. But they're looking at another spinoff. So tell me.
Well, I was going to say in The Boys season 4, it looks like it's really going to be about Starlight gets to be basically kind of the alternate. It's kind of like political. Now we've got. Homelander being on the side of the conservative side, and then we've got politicizing Starlight as kind of like the other side of the coin, which I don't know what that means, because are they voting for them for president?
Oh God.
Is she supposed to be the leader? Is she like going to be voted in as the leader of the seven?
Oh God, I don't know.
So I'm not sure where that's going.
And you've got the string puller. Her name is not Victoria Newman, because I'm thinking of Victor Newman from the soap we all watch. But Newman is her last name. Yeah, Senator Newman or whatever, the one who can blow up people's heads.
Yep, which we have that connection in Gen V.
In Gen V, cool. Exactly.
Yep.
Most stuff. So, cool. Well, as we know more, so will you. But anyway, like I was saying, tell us about this spinoff with Andor. Andor is going to be in the spinoff or involved.
Yeah, we're getting a spinoff of The Boys, which is essentially being set in Mexico. They're calling it The Boys Mexico, Los Chicos Mexico, whatever you want to call it. And it's got the producer is the writer of Blue Beetle, which I liked. And Diego Luna and Gael Garcia Bernal are going to be executive producers as well. And most likely they'll probably be acting in this, because typically when you get actors involved like this level, that's where going to be involved.
They're going to dabble. They're gonna, but smaller roles, it says here. Smaller roles.
And this is going to be shot in Latin America, and it will be a Spanish... I'm assuming we'll get dual languages in this, so it can work in other countries.
Right.
But
I mean, they do that anyway. We
have seen, but the cool thing about this, we do know that The Boys is superheroes are a global phenomenon. We saw like what that one terrorist that they went to take down in a probably Middle Eastern country. So we know that there are soups outside of the United States.
Right.
And so this is kind of bringing like more of a global bent to this, especially after Gen V probably got, moved around. I think that was part of it. Homelander wants to make more soups as well. So this could be good. And I will say that I know people are saying, oh God, there's so much of this, but I'm like, well, literally we get one season of The Boy once a year. We get maybe Gen V will get that once a year.
With The Boys, it's been a couple years, hasn't it?
Yeah, so we're not getting it like every 3 months we've got a new season like The Bachelor or something like that. So I'm cool with that.
The Golden Bachelor just wrapped up, and I'm talking to my friend Tamara, who's one of my oldest friends who lives in the neighborhood, and she's like, my mother is making me watch this Golden Bachelor. It's this old dude trying to pick a bride. We saw a clip on it from one of the from one of the late night shows. It's absolutely just like, it's a guy who's probably, I won't say he's my dad's age, but he's pretty damn close.
Like 70, 72, I think.
Oh my God, that is my dad's age. My God, actually a little bit younger, but yeah, picking out a bride. It's like, who is entertained by this stuff? Somebody, because obviously The Bachelor's been on for 48 years or whatever. I don't know.
Oh my God. And one of the women that was up for the finale is from Minnesota. She is
was she the one who won?
Executive chef, like this big chef dude in the area.
She's the wife of, so she's trying to get double married.
Ex-wife.
Okay.
Yeah, not like that. No, and it's funny because now we're finding out. Oh, he's not everything he said he was. I'm like, oh yeah, what? The Bachelor? They aren't 100% truthful. How dare they?
Are you sure? Oh my God, I know.
But it's better than seeing like young wahoos are like, oh, I'm 25 and beautiful and I can't find love.
Yeah, right. Oh, life is so hard. Oh, this is so special. All right, moving on to trashing The Bachelor. We probably earned some hate from that.
Hold on, I gotta put a new link in here.
Yeah, I was to say your link just took me to MSN.
My link broke. I will put a new link in it.
That is okay. You know me, I can riff. So Todd, Fallout is a video game. I know my son played this, as he was growing up. It was a very big thing for him when we would go to Comic-Cons years ago. He would collect merch, like the little bottle cap or whatever was a big deal.
Yeah, Fallout Boy.
But yeah.
Pip. Yeah.
Oh, Fallout Boy, not like not the Fallout
Boy. Pip Boy, sorry, his name is Pip Boy.
And it was basically the logo for it was like here in Michigan we have Elias Brothers Big Boy, and so he was basically Big Boy, but he was blonde. But anyway, it's a video game series about a post-apocalyptic future, but I adored this trailer with all the just crazy, weird bullshit, giant cockroaches, giant dogs with like mouths that had fingers in them or something. This was just, I messaged you and John in our group chat. I'm like, this is a effed up fever dream and I'm all in. Let's do this. This is the one the trailer said from the studio that brought you The Boys and 2-day shipping. And April said, what's 2-day shipping? Is that a new show?
I think there should. I'm assuming there will be an Amazon show eventually about an Amazon distribution center where they show how well they treat their workers.
Oh yes, exactly. And it won't be an episode of Undercover Boss. But yeah, and again, the only context I have is obviously I know it's a game, post-apocalypse, but I didn't know that it was so satirical. So you kind of described it as being like a dystopian kind of violent, like kind of a horror satire. For lack of for a way to describe it.
And because there is you're kind of a unknown, like from the perspective of the game, it's like you can have so many different side stories and you can encounter everything. You can get involved in everything. So the cool part about this is there's really no canon story. So you can tell a story from every perspective in this world. And it is essentially, basically nuclear war happened in the future. People were put in these vaults to survive. That's why you see these people in like these blue costumes, Charlie. They're called vault dwellers. And, I don't know how long they were supposed to stay in these shelters, but it's been generations. And this is like 40 years later, I think. And then this woman, basically, she's going to be our main character. She decides to go out in the world. And some people have survived.
So it's like that movie Blast from the Past with Brendan Fraser, right? From the early 2000s.
Yeah, but
there you go.
Things are not so great. Yeah, there's mutated creatures. And it's funny because Walton Goggins, who's a great actor, awesome in everything he does. Yeah. He's playing a character called the Ghoul, which is a character. in the games. Essentially, it's the people that are really mutated and become eventually zombies and
Oh, God.
flesh-eating characters. But
Delightful.
he has stopped his progress. Like he's just, so that's why you see his nose the way he is. He's kind of like a Clint Eastwood type character with kind of a mixed morality. So, yeah, I think it looks good. It looks like it plays the part. It plays with, it's like retro future though, because it plays with some things that kind of look like they're still set in the 50s or 40s.
Right.
And the music is set in the music hasn't advanced from like a specific time period either, which is fun. Yeah. It's really cool. There are
awesome.
And you see guys like in big suits. Those are kind of like the big basically factions called, I think it's called the Steel Brigade or something like that. So there's military, but it's still lawless.
Steel Grip Starkey from the new universe. Yeah.
That's awesome. And they actually had a spin-off game called New Vegas where you went to Vegas, but it was like Vegas was one of the only player areas where it was actually still kind of not horrible.
Yeah.
And then they've had other ones too where it takes place in like Massachusetts and you go to different parts of the country.
Massachusetts, awesome. So that's cool. So that one again, I'm assuming, did we get did we get
April
a date
12th.
on this one? Yes, I think I put it on the calendar. Oh, quick sidebar, and we didn't do up a story about this. We don't have a speaking of April, finally getting Star Trek Discovery Season 5 final season in April, no date yet. And that rolled out from some kind of expo overseas. So we don't
that's right, Brazil.
Yeah.
They did their big thing. I think that's why we got so much stuff happening. Because like there was a trailer for the new House of Dragons, which I didn't put in here, but that's coming out in 2024 too, because that's one of the only shows
that's the summer one.
Summer. That's kind of where it came out last time it came out. So
I believe so. Yeah. So
there really wasn't much in that trailer. Like I didn't have much to say about it. It looks cool. And I'm excited for it. So that's coming.
Yep. You did not a lot of plot details, but Todd, now, okay. So our final trailer, now this is a show I don't feel like you really dug on because it wasn't really super faithful to the video game, another video game thing. But I remember the conversation we had at the time, and it was probably was it earlier this year or about a year ago? This dropped. I can't remember.
It came out in 2021. January 2021.
I know. I was
Super Bowl, I think.
I know. I was watching, and I was like, "Yeah, it's all right." But I know that diehards of it were up in arms because it just was so unfaithful to the video game. We're talking about Halo over on Paramount Plus. But you're right. 2 years gone by. Have almost no idea what the hell happened. We'll definitely have to watch
24th, 2022. So
there you go.
It'll be 2 years.
It'll be 2 years. So I will definitely have to watch some YouTube catch-up videos to kind of get hip to what was going on. But yeah, once again, it's the future. We have, Space Marines and they're out doing stuff. And then you have one guy who has a, life beyond death kind of experience. And I know there was a woman and they were connected in some fashion, and it had to do with this weird key thing. And then, so we're continuing with that story. And it's funny. I watched those, like, what's the biggest space vehicle video? And I think at the end of this trailer, didn't they show the big golden butthole thing in the sky, like the big circle deal? That's the biggest space anything.
That's the Halo
that has ever existed. It's like a bajillion miles wide. It's
that's
bigger.
The Halo ring.
Yeah, bigger than the Death Star could ever be, or the Snoke's Star Destroyer in the Star Wars sequel trilogy. So it's just a lot more blow 'em ups, and it's a voiceover from the head dude saying, "Well, the Marine who will fight to save lives will not survive the day," and blah 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 blah. So anyway, it'll just it's fine by me. I enjoyed it, but again, as we talked about at the time, I'm not coming from it from a conceptual point of view where I'm like, well, this is not, the book was better, like one of those, the book was always better people. Yeah. The video game was better and they didn't cover blah, blah, blah. Who cares? It's a TV show. So, it's not the same medium. You're not going to get the same beats. And if you did, it would impress a very small group of who they really need to make it be successful. And clearly the first season was successful because they made another one. They didn't just make it, they just make it for giggles. Some people watched it and liked it. So so I'm excited. And I'm assuming if this was a March release, maybe this is a end of first quarter, early second quarter kind of deal.
It's February actually. Coming out in February, so it's very soon.
Okay. Oh yeah, you know what? You're right. It did give a date, and I went ahead and put it on our calendar.
February 8th. Yeah. So
good.
I think I'm hoping they've learned some lessons because we're getting
nobody ever learns anything ever.
Well, we're getting really good video game content now. We're getting like The Last of Us, so it's like, oh, it's must watch. And and Halo, where it's much more action oriented, and it's a game all about killing aliens. That's what it all is. And that the TV series had very little bit of killing aliens, which I get. Well, you don't want to do that, but they spent a lot of time building up the whole Spartans and what they're about and how they were created, and then very little about the actual alien threat, which is the Covenant, who basically come in and absorb species into their
yum.
class, into the class structure, and they basically enslave them to work for them. And then you typically see that's why you typically will see 3 or 4 different types of alien types, like brutes who look more like apes. You've got the grunts who look more like insects kind of. So you get more of that. So hopefully, and I think we now are seeing we're actually seeing a real threat finally versus just, we got to take out Chief. And then it was a lot of him and that have the relationship with the girl and the spy. So we built that up, but now we can get into the main part of the show, which is more about the series, which is about the alien threat and Spartans. And
Todd, once again,
aliens. If we get there with that and they've improved, perfect.
Right.
Because I did like it when they did certain action scenes. I thought they looked pretty good. They looked pretty neat. So
excellent. Very good. Awesome. Well, it's you're right. It was something, tipped the floodgates, and we talked about 4 trailers and there were 2 others that we didn't, because there was a clip from the Discovery one as well. So so there's a lot of stuff coming out, and thankfully, obviously, because the writer's strike is over and the SAG-AFTRA strike is over, people can go out, talk about them, promote them. So the entertainment industry resumes, which again, when we get to the Thunderdome, I got a bit to say about that as well. But anyway, that is the end of the news. Time to get out that Fuber app, that feeble Uber app. The Geek Easy awaits. It's time to get down to Scuggsville, Nasty Town, and talk about things we are enjoying. So let's do it.
Hey, Secret Friends Unite, let me tell you about Zencastr. We use them for our show, and now they're supporting us. Zencastr is now the all-in-one solution making podcasting easy. It's the ultimate web-based podcasting solution. Provides high-quality audio and video podcast production and hosting. With a full suite of professional tools, podcasters can seamlessly record, produce, and publish studio-quality content, all from one dashboard. Being a creator has never been easier. And we chose Zencastr because of the ease of use, high quality output, and it makes it super easy for our guests to come on. We had multiple solutions we tried before, and Zencastr has just been the best fit for us. Why Zencastr? It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. Log in using your browser and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. Record studio-quality sounds and up to 4K video with your guests. Feel a sense of zen knowing Zencastr's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality, even if the connection is unstable. Have you ever worried what you sound like? Zencastr's post-production process makes you sound buttery smooth. It automatically removes those ums and ahs in your recording. It removes those awkward pauses in conversation too. Set the right podcast loudness and levels while reducing background noise with a click of a button. So if you're interested in making an easy, high-quality podcast just with the click of a browser button, go to zencastr.com/SFU and use our code SFU. You'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experience I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. Now back to the show.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting in the Geek Easy, cover band's playing, drinks are poured, and we are ready to get our geek on. So I've been watching a lot of animation lately. Charlie, I won't go deep on this one, but I'm actually finally watching The Cleveland Show, and I'm enjoying it.
Oh, I certainly have watched a bit of that, but it
gets better. The first season is really rough. It does get better. Okay. The characters grow on you, and you find the characters that are endearing.
I mean, how long was it on for? Was it on for
4 seasons?
Wow. And Family Guy is the next wave of The Simpsons. It's still on. It's been 20 seasons.
Moving. Yeah, it's moving to another day, so it's going to move out of Sunday, which is funny.
Weird. Yeah, it's bizarre. Wow. So you watched the Cleveland Show, but anyway, so you've been watching some animation.
Yeah.
What are you watching?
Yeah, there's a new show called KraPoplis, which is part of the new Fox Animation Domination wave. I guess they didn't even call it that way.
We talked about that. Those are all on Hulu, right? Like I can watch those on Hulu?
Correct. Okay. Yeah, so this show is by, I believe it's Dan Harmon. So if you think about the guy behind Community and also Rick and Morty, he's got this show called KraPoplis, and it's set in like call it like, Greek times where there's gods and there's goddesses and mystical creatures.
Yeah.
And the main character is essentially the king of this land. And his mother, he's a demigod, and his mother is a goddess, and his dad is like a chimera a creature. So he's a creature. So he's like half and half, and he's got siblings that are also like
but he's still got a human wiener, so that's why he has kids,
exactly. Yeah, he's like a centaur with wings and a scorpion.
Of course,
very weird.
Of course.
And then he's got a sibling that is like a cyclops warrior woman, and then also a brother who's like a little aqua dude. Think of like a merman type character.
Dude.
Yeah, so it's pretty clever. It's got a good sense of humor. The main character is always blank on his name. The black guy from the IT Crowd.
Richard Iode.
Yes, so he's the main character. Then you've got his mother, who is the voice of who's voiced by Hannah Waddingham from Ted Lasso, the owner.
Fabulous.
Then you've got Matt. I'm blanking on his name. Matt. He's the vampire from What They Do in the Shadows.
Oh, Matt Berry. Matt Berry.
So Matt Berry is
it's a lot of Brits.
It is. It is a lot of good voice talent, and like Keith David was a big bad in the episodes.
Yeah.
So it's so I've watched a couple episodes. It's fun, but like a lot of these shows, you don't really get the feel, the rhythm of comedy until like you're probably a season in, because then they all have their shtick, they'll have their thing, recurring jokes, and it comes into it. So.
Like Family Guys and the sides, like, oh, that time that I was in the Japanese rodeo or something, it'll be like, go to
like the first season of Simpsons. It's not really good, but it sets everything up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I will watch more of this. I don't know how well it's doing, but I'm enjoying it. It's pretty goofy. Then the show I just started, and it's interesting. It's called Blue Eye Samurai. It's on Netflix. This is a animated series that I really like the animation. It's not really overly stylized. It's very straightforward, but the animation, like the movement of the characters, is pretty fantastic. And all the episodes are almost like an hour long. There's 8 of them, so it's very different. It's long form storytelling, but it's really cool about this. The main character, she was essentially born to a white father and a Japanese woman, and at that time in feudal Japan, essentially white people were not allowed in the country, and so she's essentially an outcast. She's got blue eyes, so as a young child of age of 7 or so, she's basically an outcast, bullied and everything like that. She finds her way to she's on her own. Her mother was killed, you find out, and her father is just basically kidnapped her mother and left, so we don't actually know what's going on. So this is a revenge tale, and she basically becomes an apprentice to a blind swordsmaker, and I really like it.
100% the story of Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe. It was the same thing. He apprenticed to a blind swordsmaker. That was his story after he came back from Vietnam and everything. So Snake Eyes might show up. Hopefully it won't be the Snake Eyes from the Snake Eyes.
I'm sure it happens. But yeah, a lot of great voice talent in this. You've got Masaoka from Heroes is in this.
Oh, nice.
Brenda Song, George Sakai does a voice in this. Randall Park. Kenneth Branagh is one of the white evil dudes.
What are the white devils? White devils.
Ming Na Wen, Mark Dacascos. So quite a pretty good voice cast, and there's a good sense of humor to this, but also it's adult. There's nudity, which it's surprising. There's some joke about this guy who's kind of a virgin, and
it's animated nudity.
Oh yeah. Everything looks pretty good. In that case,
oh god,
it's pretty good.
What is that? Oh my god! Whoa,
like I said, it's fairly realistic too. So
wow.
I think it's beautiful. Kind of reminds me of
naked dudes.
In a lot of ways, reminds me of the What If animation style.
Okay.
So like I said, more realistic, not hand drawn or anything like that. But
not like
I really liked it.
Oh
yeah, the choreography of the fights is amazing, and I was watching a video where they showed like essentially live action doing the choreography, and they did it side by side in the animation. It's amazing.
Oh,
It's
wow.
really well done. I'm enjoying it.
And that you
And
said
I
it's
will
on
watch
Netflix,
more.
huh? Netflix?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Yeah,
I'll
it's
give it a
great.
peek. Well, good. Well, we are, it's funny because I'm coming back. We were off a week and then you did that solo. So I was just trying to remember stuff that I have been watching. It's stuff because a lot of stuff I watch for our Patreon because I record for the Facts Geek Life show that I do. But we have been watching the Monarch, the Legacy of Monsters, which is a spinoff of the more current iteration of the Godzilla series. I know there's a Godzilla movie in the theaters right now.
-1. Yeah.
But I don't know the context. I don't know if it's if
So
it's
the Godzilla property, like, so there's essentially like Japan has their own version of Godzilla, which is separate. Like, you think of like the guys in the suits.
yeah.
That is owned by I forgot which company, and they still license it and they make their own Japanese films. So that's
Yeah.
-1.
Okay.
And then we have like the US version of Godzilla,
Right, which is the movies and all the different stuff. So so yeah, this is it's a timepiece set in from the 1950s to kind of present day, but it's sprinkled in with the chronology of the films that we've seen in in the aughts and the teens. The Godzilla versus the King Kong. We're kind of crisscrossing with that. They touch a little of the continuity from Kong Skull Island, but the coolest part of it, and again we're in episode 4 now, and it's kind of moved away from this, but you have Wyatt Russell, the U.S. agent from Marvel, and Kurt Russell, his father, playing the same character in these in 2 different time periods, with not an explanation of exactly why Kurt Russell, who's like 100, looks like he's is in the 70s, but it has to do with following through the great mystery of keeping things under wraps. And I'm not going to dig too deep into spoilers because it's very dense and I should pay closer attention because I'm like, what the hell's going on now? But it's a little slower moving until we get to episodes 3 and 4, where again you're getting your storyline from the early 1950s, and then you're getting your storyline from current day, showing different monsters popping up in different scenarios. Like, for example, in the 3rd and 4th episode, they're in Alaska trying to chase down a lead because they're trying to find the dead father of a couple of these characters, and they stumble upon a monster that just breathes ice fire, and it destroys the plane they came in and kills the pilot. Sorry about spoilers, but you trust me, when the monster appears, you kind of get the feeling something like that's going to go down. And but in the 50s, you're showing like a Bikini Atoll kind of nuclear device, but drawing Godzilla to it and then trying to blow it up because even though our people want to research it, the Army's like, nope, gotta blow it up, bye-bye. So it's interesting to see where this is going. Again, this is on Apple Plus. We renewed Apple Plus just to watch this, but also the morning show is back, which is, I can only watch so many episodes of that show because it's all so dark and horrible that I'm like, let's switch over and do the other thing we're watching right now, which we're watching because April's never seen most all of it, Scrubs, which is over on Hulu. And talk about a show, the first season, that has really not aged well. All the gay jokes, and of course Dr. Cox always calls JD by a girl's name and stuff, and
and Todd is a kind of a creeper.
So
Todd.
Exactly. The other quick bit is the Fear the Walking Dead finally ended. Todd, that was the Walking Dead show that you would never watch, and I understand, but that's a show that in my mind, to a certain degree of success, took its initial run of it, which was it's a family from LA, and it's a widowed mother and a son who's drug addicted and just a regular run-of-the-mill teenage daughter. All of them escaped when the shit went bad. They hooked up with a con man, they stole a boat, and then they took off and had adventures down in Mexico and kind of worked their way back up into Texas. And it was one of the characters from the Texas arc that ended up being the villain in this final season. This final season, they're trying to get back to Padre or South Padre Island. They're still in Texas to find sanctuary, but then they have to kill to take it back, and it's all this different stuff. So at the end of it, you do find out that Madison, who's played by Kim Dickens, the mom from the beginning of the show, her finds her long lost daughter dead. They Madison kills this guy, the Texarkana guy. I'll call him the Texarkana guy. I like that better.
What happened to Jenna Elfman?
Oh, she lived. Lived. Yeah, she lived, and I don't know
about Greg. Is Greg there from Greg and Dharma?
I think that she had to sacrifice him. She had to push him in front of the zombies. And I cannot remember what happened to Morgan, to Lenny James's character, who was from the original. I'm not sure what happened to him. I probably have to go ask April. She did a better job paying attention. But at the end of it, much like with the end of Fear the Walking Dead, key characters survived, with the big thrust of like they're setting up the, gentlemen, start your engines for a sequel, is that Alicia, who's the daughter, and then Madison, who's Mom, Ken Dickens' character, finally get together, and they're like, you know what, we're going back home to Los Angeles. And I'm like, why? Why? What are you going to find in Los Angeles? It's there, more friggin' zombies. And if you're going back to your house or whatever, it's probably not there. What are you going to do in Los Angeles? So it was a weird ending, but again, it's the world is about survival, but it's a franchise. So as shows continue to move forward, you might see the two of them pop up. Who the hell knows? But anyway, I think they kind of did as best as they could, because they didn't have a big like super thread to wrap up, because it's not like, and we found the cure to zombieism and we flipped the switch and all the zombies stopped zombieing and now it's just people. That hasn't happened yet, because they won't have a franchise anymore. The next thing on the horizon for The Walking Dead is the Rick and Michonne show comes out in February, I think. And other shows that Daryl Dixon wrapped up, the Maggie and Negan show in New York City, that wrapped up. So I think...
Well, Daryl's coming back season 2, right? And it's going to have Carol on it.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
Have not heard that was the case about the Dead City one.
Daryl and Carol.
Yeah, they couldn't get her because they filmed it in France. She couldn't get a passport, the actress. So that was the issue. Yeah, I don't know. Shit.
What did she do in Paris? What did she on like someone? Did she like? Did she bounce a check or something?
Maybe she's
not let this woman in the country.
You don't know if she's an ex-con or something.
Did she not get vaccinated?
I guess no. Ooh, I have no idea. But anyway, yeah. So they're bringing that show back. But yeah, that was how that show ended. Is you had the stinger at the end of that was Carol had arrived where Daryl had gone, got kidnapped on a boat. It was like a town in Maine. She showed up looking for him. So obviously they're going to reconnect. So, but anyway, yeah. So there wasn't any big whiz bang conclusion to Fear the Walking Dead. It was just that,
it went out like a wet fart.
Yeah. It was the two core characters survived and they're going off on a quest that makes no sense.
So going back to where they began.
Yeah, exactly.
Big circle.
Big circle. Let's go back to California. So anyway, it's whatever. I'm more excited for the Rick and Michonne show because those are the core, those are two of the really core characters of the franchise. Yeah. So, and it had to do with where Rick was all those years because he got kidnapped by the big bad, the big whatever the organization is, the kind of new United States government, whatever, kidnapped him. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But that's it. That's what I got going on. So yeah. All right. So with that, Todd, that takes us out of the Geek Easy. It is time to get out that Air Qantas app. The mutants and hologram Tina await us down there in the land down under, where we're going to be talking about things we're not thankful for. Let's make it happen.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome.
Thank you, Tina. We're sitting in Thunderdome where the mutants have been gathered for a topic or a game to be entertained. And I thought it was time, we have Thanksgiving, we're thankful, we're, too much positivity in the world. And it's time for us to go a little bit
on the other side.
Yes, it's time for Festivus, an airing of grievances. We did this on co-op mode, and it was actually a lot of fun. We kind of talked about, and we want to keep it on a positive from a negative perspective, meaning like things we just continue to see that are not good in regards to maybe trends or things like that. So we're not going to be attacking individual people, things like that. We're going to be really more talking about some of the things we've seen that are just kind of like, that would change to make the world of geek media a better place.
I gotta go generic and about that. All right, I'll go first. The biggest thing that I'm not crazy about was this trend during the SAG-AFTRA strike, where these executives really thought at the end of the day that they had all the power. That made me crazy, because you have suits. And again, it was echoed again by, not naming any names, the person said, the Marvels was a failure because we let them run wild. There was not enough on-set supervision with the people there on the set, and that's why the movie was unsuccessful. Just, these creatives, we deal endemically doing podcasting as we do. We work with, and the different talent that we work with a lot of artists. Jen Watson, who's my collaborator over on Code 47, is an artist. She's a wonderful cosplayer. She's a very creative type. my friend Kelly Gettner up in Wisconsin, an author, a creative type. You know what I mean? All of the, and Todd, all of us, we create this. This is our art that we create all the time. If there's no content, then there's no business. And it's not that we here at Secret Friends Unite are a world-shattering business, but if everything that dictated all types of entertainment was made by your Kathleen Kennedys of the world or Bob Iger, like I said, sorry to throw some names out there, but these are some of the big ones, and really thought that, well, we'll just go on without these people and they're going to have to do what I say. That's ridiculous. So I am thankful to see that trend in particular take a big, knee to the groin with this great victory of the end of the SAG-AFTRA Act. I like to see artists being paid their due and really showing that they do make a difference in being able to command, what they earn, and the contribution to what they make in society. I mean, the whole other side of the coin that I'm hearing more and more fear about is, AI generated art and so on and so forth. That doesn't touch me so much personally, so I guess I don't have a ton of opinion about it. I think it kind of sucks. Art is art. I'm always most interested in having people obviously be attributed for the work that they do. But yeah, that's something that really drives me nuts, is when these muckety-mucks executive who makes tens of billions says, oh, we just can't afford to give these people this thing and that thing, because it's basically, oh, well, you're going to have to sell one of your Learjets or one of your houses around the world. You know what I mean? It just really turns my stomach, Rich Dixon in particular, that they really think that they can drive the boat. And it's great to see these people really be taken down to their knees. So that I'm thankful to see that type of behavior take a blow. Made me happy.
Yeah, when all was said and done with the strike, it was essentially a much ado about nothing in regards to what the studios actually achieved, except lost money and ended up giving back more. So I hope they've learned something that, next time this comes around, because we know it's a 3-year deal, that they will at least come from a position of we're partnering rather than being against each other, because they just didn't do anything.
They didn't want to spend another 6 months. All it did was take away 6 months of earning, both at the time it was happening and then in the 12 months that followed. I mean, look at, the MCU has one film coming out in 2024 where they had a slate of 3 or 4, so it was, let's hope lessons are learned, although people in positions like that rarely learn lessons. But again, immediately afterwards, you had one of these talking heads say, well, I think we gave up too much. Okay, buddy. Sure you did. Yeah. It's, so anyway, so anyway, that's my biggest trend that I'd like to see. And I'm sure it's not over, but it's great to see it get a kick squaw in the nuts, as Eric Cartman might say. This is good stuff.
Yeah, I want to say I'm unthankful for poor economic decisions by corporations that they made for themselves, and now everyone is being made to pay for it. That would be Disney Plus spending on just to make content, not actual art, not quality, not really come from a position of we should make sure these things are of value, have good writing, good processes, and then making the product, and then essentially taking things away from people. Like things getting canceled, removed from services. We have like projects that we're been told that were, halfway decent or already done, and then essentially being written off for tax purposes. And then certain executives saying, we're actually brave for doing so. I'm like,
wait, it's this? Patting myself on the back.
Yeah, and then we are continuing to see this where the only one that suffers typically are the creatives and everyone else.
Yeah.
The audience as well, because now you're essentially getting less for what you actually pay for. They're removing content. What you thought you were getting on this service, now it's no longer there because no one's licensed it out.
Like Star Trek. Star Trek Prodigy is a great example. And Jen Watson, again, my partner, pointed out as we were talking, it wasn't a tax write-down to get rid of Prodigy because they just disengaged it and sold it to someone else. So it wasn't, they just really did it because they wanted to find a way to make money, because they didn't really feel that this show was an overall cohesive part of the Star Trek universe. So now you have, instead of a year ago when the Paramount Plus were saying the home of all Star Trek, we have all 13 movies, all 10 shows, all, almost 900 episodes of content, whatever it is. And now, you have the orphan, the cousin, who's off on Netflix, and thank God they found a home. But yeah, it was.
Is that going to be more like? Not canon? It's going to be out there because it's not officially not under our banner.
I don't know how that's being regarded. Prior to this, it was being regarded as canon. This is because Prodigy again focuses on it heavily focuses on the Star Trek Voyager characters and kind of their storyline and what happens afterwards. So yeah, you're right. Is that all being erased? But it's on screen, so in the Star Trek rule is if it's on screen, it's canon.
Is the animated, is the original animated series, is that canon too?
It's
that was
funny.
On screen.
It's funny because it's a gray area, because Gene Roddenberry himself said he didn't like it and said, well, I feel it's somewhat apocryphal. I don't really like it. But Star Trek Lower Decks, which Todd, I know you're not a fan of, has found little subtle winks and nods, much like with Star Wars, bringing back the EU stuff, kind of pulling it in. So they had an episode where, an episode of the old animated show had a giant Spock simula, or basically somebody cloned Spock and he was giant size. Well, the skeleton of that shows up in an episode of Lower Decks in a collector's collection, 100 years later. So it kind of winks and nods of bringing stuff back the same way they really do in Star Wars, because in Star Wars, when Disney bought it, everything else got flushed that wasn't live action content.
Yeah. So it's like all of these things coming together. We heard about, the most recent one was the Looney Tunes Coyote versus Acme that was canceled, was going to be written off, and now that's being going to be, I guess, shopped around for someone else to make.
So it's kind of the same deal.
Yeah. So with all of this, I just feel like it's so many studios just making bad decisions, and everyone else is paying for it. And everybody think, well, it's not a big deal, but it's like, well, imagine you spent how many months or years of your life making that, and that would be on your resume to share, to get new jobs. And if it didn't even appear, then you couldn't. I mean, to be like, well, what'd you do? Something that didn't get released. Well,
I worked.
Really
I worked on a thing. Yeah, right. Was it Batwoman, Batgirl, the very famously canned. And they're like, oh, we did this because the quality wasn't up to par, or whatever. And then they released Flash, and it's one of the biggest disasters of all time.
Well, that movie was apparently made for it to be a movie, where Batwoman was made for streaming. And when you make something for streaming, the quality, I mean, think about Titan.
Put the same dollars in it. Yeah.
Titan was made for streaming. Is Titans going to be, are you going to put that on the big screen?
Well, I didn't know that. I didn't know that Batwoman or Batgirl was, I thought it wasn't made to be a theatrical film.
No, it's meant to be for Max, and smaller budget, like $80 million. And apparently everything came out of that movie was not going to be good. So that's where he basically said, we don't want this out there because it looks like another, stinker for DC. Because I mean,
and again, what's hilarious is that then the Flash comes out, and it is a turd in the wind. It's one, like I said, it's one of the biggest losers of all time.
I mean, it did get positive reviews, though. I don't think it was like people hated the movie. Some people did.
I didn't hate it. I enjoyed watching it, but again, it wasn't successful. So
you can't spend $300 million on a movie, have it delayed multiple times, have the stink of a bad actor, and then release it and expect it to be a success. If you did expect that movie to be a success, you're silly.
We're just going to pull it out, Indiana Jones kind of hinging on creating an audience out of a property that an entire generation has only passing familiarity with. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah.
So you got another one, Charlie?
Why don't you do another one? I'll see if I can think of something.
So I'm going to say I am unthankful for the fact that we're continuing to see streaming prices of services go up with, I would say, less value. We're seeing less releases. We're seeing, we used to get movies day and date. Now we aren't. They're getting delayed. We don't know. Like Barbie still hasn't shown up on HBO Max, and that's a Warner Brothers property. And you think about that. So it's like, okay, is it now worth the price we're going to pay, considering every service has gone up?
Right.
And I'm not going to be one of the people like, well, we should go back to cable. No, because cable
Yeah.
still wouldn't give you Netflix. It wouldn't give you all those things
Right.
that have the good stuff now. I
Right.
just am not getting MTV and all that crap that nobody cared for anyways. So, and I'm hearing rumors now that Paramount Plus and Apple may even merge in regards to as a service.
I did hear that as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
What exactly does that all mean? Yeah.
Yeah. So, like you said, like, I mean, well, we had Paramount Plus merge with Showtime, but are we really going to get new Showtime content, or is it just going to be
It's all
old
Paramount,
Showtime
yeah.
content,
Right.
and it'll just be new Paramount Plus? So I am worried where this all is going, because people are going to start cutting back. And I mean, and I don't know if it's worth it to people. What's must see, what's not. I don't regularly subscribe to Apple TV Plus because, quite honestly, their amount of releases are just staggered. And I'm like, I'll just wait until something good comes out. Ted Lasso's not coming back.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's a trend that I don't know is for the best, and essentially is going to make, I think it's going to shake things up in a bad way, where we're going to see less content, less stuff made, and we're going to be paying more. And I don't think that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, my most recent one I'm not thankful for is playing roulette with licensed properties when it comes to comics. You know, my biggest one that I was really chagrined was I was starting to get back into G.I. Joe because I was so enjoying what I think is very successful string of hits with the G.I. Joe Classified series, releasing a lot of great figures. It really got my excitement up. And again, you've got a property that has no successful films because they've all been trash. Let's face it. There hasn't been a cartoon product in 20 years, and I didn't even really pay attention to that. And, I grew up with the comics, loved the comics, but I got out of print comics a long time ago because, by the thought process of, well, if it's something that's streaming, I'll find it because you and I both use Marvel Unlimited, DC Universe, Comixology Unlimited, which is, excuse me, as of the time you're listening to this, is now simply Kindle, because that service will have dissolved entirely as of December the 4th, as I recall. But so I'm getting back into G.I. Joe, found out that, I knew about a year ago that it went away. But when it went away, it disappeared digitally. Cannot find it unless you're in the resources of the dark web. And I wanted to pay for it outright. I wanted to, hey, these volumes of trade paperbacks that I used to borrow from Comixology, they were, one volume was 10 issues of the classic series, which is 155 issues. I had a few of them still borrowed, but I read volumes 1 through 4. When I get to volume 5, I didn't have it and I couldn't find it. So then I am left to start what I've been doing for the last 4 or 5 months is, like I was telling you, I was at Grand Rapids Comic-Con. I was going from booth to booth. What do you got? G.I. Joe comics do you got? What do you got? And, they're not super expensive, $3, $4, $5 each. But that series went to 155. A big group of time went by. Larry Hama came back. They started at 156. And they went all the way up to 300. None of them to be found digitally. And when issue 301 hit last month, which again, that's something I should have talked about, that I picked that up and enjoyed that. But again, I was able to intuit what the hell was going on, but not only had I not read issue 300, but it was nowhere that I could find it unless I did what I did. I managed to find a copy because I went around on Black Friday and went to some different shops. So, the same roulette that you experience with streaming services, you'll get with comics as well, in particular if they're not part of big dynasties like Marvel or DC. Marvel and DC hang on to their stuff, but how many licensed properties that Marvel or DC had back in the 80s, like old Battlestar Galactica comics or Indiana Jones, which thankfully I have every copy of it in print, and I those were very, very formative stories for me. Some of the first I ever read, so I love them. But back in 2009, when Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull came out, they published, I think, IDW or maybe it was Dark Horse had the license at the time, published some very nice volumes of it, which completely disappeared, went out of print. Now they're $200 each. Will never exist again digitally. My hope was when this last film came out that they would become available digitally again, but because the film bombed and subsequently the figure line bombed, Indiana Jones is probably gone for good. So I'm glad that I have because I've sold comic collections twice in my life. Now all that I collect is out of print stuff. I find a G.I. Joe or an Indiana Jones, or like I said, a Battlestar Galactica, or just something weird or bizarre, and I'll snag a copy of it because just like with, oh man, I bought stuff on digital. Now I buy a lot of movies I do buy them digitally. I don't do discs. But like, oh, I can find that on Netflix or whatever, and this and that. And you're never going to be able to keep up with counting on that you can find something that's not physical. It was just funny. We've come all the way around to saying, hey, we're going to have to buy discs and individual comic books again, because it's the only way I know that I'm ever going to be able to actually
if they keep making discs, though, that's the problem. A lot of times they're going to just go away from discs, or they won't have, I mean, like somebody was talking about, like, and this just happened on Sony, on the PlayStation, that some seasons of Discovery produced content are being removed by the licensor, even though you bought them.
Right.
And it's like, to a point, like, okay, yeah, I could get a disc. Are you going to buy a season of Honey Boo Boo? Here Comes Honey Boo Boo, or like a reality? The problem is they aren't going to put discs out for all that stuff,
and it doesn't exist.
Content to make discs,
right?
So I think you would say, well, just go physical. I'm like, good luck with that. Look at how many places are not even selling discs anymore.
Right. Well, for me,
Best Buy is getting rid of discs, and
I would.
CDs.
For me,
can you even buy a CD these days?
I haven't owned a CD in 15 years,
Exactly.
you know, and as far as the discs, I sold a bunch of them, at like a flea market a couple of years ago when I was that long stretch when I was unemployed during COVID.
That's a lot of times the way you can only find like certain recordings, because not everything, like live concert recordings, like I think, was it Live Aid or Farm Aid? I think one of those, or Live Aid. I was starting to find that,
like back in the one from back in the 80s. Yeah.
Like finding like recording concerts, not always going to be available either.
So I tightened up, and I have on my wish list or whatever the different seasons of the more modern Star Trek shows, because I'm going to get them and I'm just going to put them away, because I expect to always have Paramount Plus, because it's very integral to watching content that we talk about over on Code 47. So I always have it. But
Paramount Plus still exists, right?
If it still exists, what if it merges and then all the Star Treks get spun off and here, there. So I'm putting more of a focus on it. And again, the DS9 and Voyager, those will never be made into HD. So hang on to those discs. And I've got them all. I've got them all in the big binder right behind me, because we use it when we do Comic Cons at the booth. We show them. So anyway, so I'm not super happy about the digital juggling. And I'm not happy about having to go back and buy all these issues, half of which I've never read, because I would love to, just like when I read through Amazing Spider-Man 10 years ago, and I got all the way that I was able to read absolutely everything on my Marvel Unlimited app, and it was just from one issue to the next, never had to hunt and dig and try to find them. So it sucks that it's that way. But again, we've come all the way back around that having it in your hands is really the only way to have it. If it's something that's old. If it's something that's new, you're kind of out of luck. So there's always YouTube, right? In the dark web.
Exactly. Yeah, and licensed things have always been that way.
Yeah.
Anything that's licensed, you're likely to not, like video games. A lot of video games, they lose the rights. Like even Microsoft, they have a car racing game. Well, they had licensed music. Or they have licenses to get the cars. Well, if they lose those, they can't do it. So you basically have had to own a copy, and hopefully they'll continue to offer it on their servers, and do that. So
there was or TV shows like 30 Rock. Oh, this episode is deemed offensive, so we're going to remove it from streaming.
You guys, a girl in a pizza place. Nobody's showing that show. It's niche. I found it on DVD pretty cheap, so I bought it just because it's not a great show.
WKRP in Cincinnati is a great double example. Only the first season of it was produced on disc, and the rest of it not being made available because a lot of the licensing for the music that they played in their interstitials, because it's a radio station, they didn't have the rights to. So they had to go back and swap it out with elevator music, and it was just like the only way that you can deal with that is by having something on disc, because
we never had this. Nobody ever complained about not having this show back in the 80s, because no one had anything physical except for records and things. TVs and movies, like I just shared a post on our Discord today. This time of year, this is the 40th anniversary of the home video release of Raiders of the Lost Ark, 2 years after it came out. But it was a big deal because it was a home video release at a very affordable $39.95, which even back there in $1983 was probably $100 or pretty close to it. But now it's
yeah, they're on Disney Plus now, but what if someday they're not? Because, Disney is moving things around. They got to sell off things so that they can stay floating. And so, yeah, ultimately, like I said, we've come back around to where we were 20 years ago when DVDs were new, even before Blu-rays, where everything came out on DVD. And if you get it, put it in a tub in your basement and put it. I have rafters in my garage. I think that's where I'm going to start putting all my DVDs and CDs so that when I die, my heirs will be able to have access to all the things that probably don't
exist. As long as you have ability to play those, Charlie, because
Oh, you're
DVD
absolutely
players
right.
will not be around forever.
I will have
discs do get digital rot. So
I'll have to put the DVD player in like a plastic bag and wrap it up so it's still in there.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
Exactly.
weird.
Yeah,
It's weird. Yeah, so there's no guarantee.
Yeah, so I have one more.
Okay, go for it. That was me. I came up with that off fly. Yeah, so go for it.
No, that's a great one. It's a great one because these are all these trends that are like we just are hating to see. The trend I'm hating to see is everything is politicized. I'm unthankful for the politicization of everything.
Yeah,
the whole get woke, get broke. Where the people say, oh, if it's got any like positive messages for LGBTQ, oh, it's not going to make any money.
Like Lightyear. Lightyear's a great example from last year.
Exactly.
Enjoyed that film, but there was a micro inclusion of a same-sex couple, and everybody was up in arms, and the movie failed.
Or a Black Little Mermaid. Oh my God, that's not kidding. I'm like, yes, because we've all seen mermaids, and we all know what mermaids should look like.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of silly, but then we get on the other side of like people think there's a political agenda against certain content, like the one I'm hearing right now, and I know it's a mixed bag. And we talked about the Marvels. Why isn't doing well? Because men are against it and they don't want to see strong females. I'm like, well, why did Barbie do over $1.4 billion, get positive reviews? And sometimes, there's other things at it than a negative conspiracy.
Right.
Sometimes, and like I said, if that many people went to see Barbie, and they wanted to support female heroes, then why didn't they all go see the Marvels? Well, maybe they didn't care about some things in the Marvels, or same thing like that. I mean, so I feel like people have to look beyond their own agenda, why something they liked or hate failed or succeeded, and just move on. Support the things you want. Tell your friends to go. Take them to it, or boycott on your own, on your own means if you want. But man, it's getting tiresome.
And Barbie's a great example because hold it up against the Marvels, which was a very run of the mill space science fiction comic movie, where Barbie was a very tight, pointed story, made a lot of really incredible points, did something that hadn't been done before. And again, Todd, we talked about summer of last year with Top Gun Maverick touching the quadrants, men and women above and below a certain age. That gives you your 4 quadrants.
That's like the opposite of a woke film too. Did really well. So we can't say like, masculine shooting things down with a jet. Oh, we can't have that in America anymore. 2
diametrically opposed concepts. So it's proof that women enjoyed going to see Top Gun Maverick and men enjoyed going to see Barbie. I loved it. We all loved it here. You know what I mean? And I didn't feel threatened by it. I didn't feel like, oh, this is just about man hating and blah, blah, blah. No, I mean, I thought it told a very good story with some very great pointed messaging about things that are real in life. And I'm receptive to it because I'm not an asshole. I think that's what helped me enjoy the movie. You know what I mean? And because I don't hate, I don't think all women hate men, and I don't hate all women. I've had some reason to in my time, but haven't we all, to hate people in general? But I thought it was a great message because I think the things that they spoke to really resonated, and my mind was open. But open-minded people are, they're not exactly a dime a dozen. You know that as well as I do.
Oh, and it's celebrating certain movies that can be made, and a licensed property like Barbie, and just showing a creator, Greta Gerwig, awesome, great job. I mean, picking the right actors and having a good time, a good solid script, a plot that wasn't hard to struggle. And you know what, Charlie, I didn't have to know 50 years of Barbie to get the plot. I didn't have to watch
you didn't tie in all the animated series. Yeah, exactly.
The Barbie magazine, the Barbie Horse Adventures video game. I didn't have to know any of that just to enjoy the film.
very meta, very self-referential, very able to poke fun at itself, and then just embracing kind of what it was.
Exactly.
Where the Marvels, not so much. They had some very standard paint by numbers Marvel kind of beats. It's going to be a thing, and it's going to be this and that, and at the end of it, there's a stinger that's going to tell you about the next movie. I still enjoyed the Marvels, but again, you're talking about two genres that are not at all connected, where Barbie was a kind of a meta comedy satire.
Dramedy,
where the Marvels was a comic film, which we already know as a franchise is experiencing extraordinary fatigue based on things like The Flash. Aquaman comes out in a couple weeks. You know what? I'm not feeling positive about Aquaman.
No, Ant-Man didn't do well.
And Ant-Man was bad. Exactly.
Even Black Panther 2, struggled to meet the heights, and that's expected because we're now in year 12 of superhero films.
Of kind of the Marvel dynasty. 12. Well, 15. 2008 was Iron Man. So we're 15 years in. So everything. Westerns weren't popular forever. They ebbed and flowed. Could be time for that to go away, and the next big thing will come along. It's just nothing stays up forever.
Big trend. What's the next big trend we can't get enough of? Is it going to be
horses, Macho Dojo Casa, and all Barbie? Well, it'll be Barbie. It'll be Barbie like self-referential stuff because that was a big hit. So everybody's going to go after trying to make nice Barbie. Yeah.
It'll be Tarzan films because you know what? We can't get enough Tarzan.
You're gonna have to bring back something to defend the next thing. So anyway, oh, cool. I like it. No, this was a good one. This was a good one. I liked it.
Yeah, so let us know out in the world what you are not thankful for. Obviously, we don't want to attack people or things like that. Obviously, studio executives, they're up for grabs. They make so much money.
Trends.
They're a figure that make bad decisions that hurt people. So you know what? Go after them, but don't hurt actors, directors, people that are making creative decisions. Unless they're horrible people, then you choose your own adventure.
Yes, you do it. It's all up in the air. Well, cool. Well, friends, that is the end of our program. Todd, where do people find you out there?
They can find me at TOxtra and at Secret Friends Unite on Threads, and still out there on Twitter, just hanging out, making sure I friend all my old friends from Twitter and put them on Threads, because it's still, that's still where a lot of people are, and I still want to make sure, we're communicating, but it's not, I don't dwell there as much as I used to.
Yeah, as opposed to me, I did delete it altogether, and particularly after Elon's little temper tantrum this week, I'm really done. And that's okay, but you know what? I'm glad you're keeping it active. I also am over on Threads and on Instagram trying to share some content, share some thoughts. I'm kind of a slow go, but I am C3 Carpenter over there. Just spell it out. I'm not too terribly hard to find. And as always, my wife April and I do run the USS Grand Petoskey. That is one of the biggest chapters of the International Star Trek Fan Club in the world. I'm also privileged enough to run Region 13, which is Michigan in Eastern Canada. We have a really robust, growing presence, particularly here in Michigan, of new chapters. If you're a Trekker in Michigan or Eastern Canada or anywhere within the sound of my voice, would like to learn more about SFI, please give us a Google or definitely find me and send me a DM, because I would like to connect you with other Trekkers where you live. So with that, Todd, it's great to be back. Missed being on SFI, but we're unstoppable. We're plugging towards episode 500. I'm going to tell you, as always, that sharing is caring, and to keep on trucking.
Be the hero, not the villain.
In a truck.
McClunky.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow at Secret Friends U on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.